Now you listen to me real good. I've told you once, I said it 1,000 times. You get out of those pagan, satanic, religious, Christian churches. Christians do not follow the commandments of the Bible. Christians do what they want to do. They make up their own laws, their own rules, and their own regulations. Come out of her, my people, and come out from among them. And it's real simple and easy to ascertain who are these people you need to come out from. Easy. Number one, if they keep Sunday, that's an automatic sign that you need to not have any fellowship with these commandment-breaking, wicked deceivers and seducers and bewitchers of the truth. Simple.
I'm going to be on the land until Thursday night about 1800, 1900, and I'm going to Dallas thereafter. So if you have any questions, I'm going to leave you my information as well. So you can always reach me via email, and we will address all those questions you have. We don't reach them tonight, okay?
There are some more seats if you guys want to pull in a little bit closer. Shalom. Shalom. Brother Luke, and we're just going to get started here. I'm going to just real quick tell you about how I got started with my understanding of the oils and what I've used the oils for, just real briefly, and just a little bit of background on that. So I'm not sure what the date was. It was probably about 2011 or 12. I was talking to Brother Leon back and forth a couple times, and he had explained that he had got started in a business and just simply using oils for preparedness. And when I first thought about that, I thought it was the dumbest thing I'd ever heard. I thought it was a bunch of snake oils. I thought it was a bunch of like stinky candles that maybe your wife has because it smells great and it gives you a headache type of a thing. That's literally what I thought about this. And at one point, I remember that there was a digestive blend, and I don't know what it was that I ate, but I didn't feel like I could stand up. And I get him on the phone, and he says, "Oh yeah, take the digestive blend and stick it on your finger and put it in your belly button." And I thought, that's gotta be snake oils. I mean, that sounds really weird. But like I just said, think about what that means. If you have an oil that you put directly into your belly button, that was where your umbilical cord was. So I'm telling you that I went from I don't know if I could walk, because I thought I was going to lose my lunch, to I felt 98% better in 15 minutes. And when that happened, I couldn't believe it. Okay? And I'll make a brief disclaimer. There are definitely things that you need to get right, and there are definitely places where you may need to call on the elders, and there are definitely places for the oils. So having said that, another point is I've dealt with some allergies in the past. Just, I mow the lawn and my nose runs or something like that. And I remember having a really big area that I had to mow. It took a couple days push mowing, and I was just a mess. And then I went in and took some of the oils, lemon, lavender, and peppermint. And what I was doing at that point in time was I took a capsule and I put 2 drops of lemon, lavender, and peppermint each in the capsule and took it. And then I went out to mow. And I'm telling you, I felt just like that when I was done mowing all this nasty dead grass and stuff that would normally at least make my nose run or my eyes itch or something like this. And so it was a total difference, a complete difference. And so that's when I started to see that there is a value to this. There's definitely also a place for medical treatment. If I have a compound fracture with a bone stuck out of my leg, yeah, I'm sure we have some awesome emergency medical treatment that can help reset that bone or do surgery. If it's not that, there are a lot of places that the oils can really come into play. So it's also been something that we use on a daily basis with our children. When my youngest was born, I immediately put direct lavender and Roman chamomile directly on her heel of her foot. And those are both just for calming. And you can just tell a big difference when you use some of these oils. Another thing that I'll mention as far as my use that I use almost every day is On Guard, and I know Brother Leon's going to speak about that. It's an extremely powerful oil. The On Guard blend is a preventative. It should be used as a preventative. If you are already sick, meaning you've got already a bunch of junk going through your system, there are other protocols with On Guard that you can do to kind of updo, to add a lot more volume, and you would need to take a lot more of the oils to try to overcome a virus. But this stuff kills viruses. I don't like to use hand sanitizer a lot if I can use the oils. So the oils will go into your skin and through your whole system very, very quickly, and he'll speak about that as well. But as I've used them, the more I've used them and the more that I've learned about them, the more I use them. Aside from the direct oils that I use, I also use some of the other things that doTERRA has to offer. Specifically, we use some of the vitamins and minerals. They have some of the oils infused in them, which is very good for your system. Probably one of the least paid attention to oils, or one you don't really think about a lot, that I use pretty much every day, is lemon. On a daily basis, we're exposed to all kinds of toxins, and these toxins are flowing through your body. If you inhale exhaust, if you live in a city, if you change oil, or if you get gas, the gas pump, and you get gasoline on your hand, that stuff, those toxins, those petrochemicals go through your entire body. And if you are ever burning fat, whether it means you're working out or you're losing weight, you're going to burn through what your body has encapsulated, those toxins in your fat. And if you're not using some of these oils, you'll feel sick because you're actually releasing all these toxins into your system. So the lemon, among many other things that the lemon oil does, is it helps detoxify your body. It's a purifier. There's a lot of different things that these oils do. A lot of them are like the Swiss Army knife. They do many different things. They don't just do one thing. And what it will do for this person over here will be different than what it will do for this person over here because your body reacts. And again, he's going to talk about why they're called smart oils. So as I've used them more. And as I've learned, I've used them more. And I just believe that they are a replacement for a lot of the things that we are told here, you just need to use this. And what this is something that Big Pharma or Merck or your over-the-counter stuff that you might buy at Walmart is basically a bunch of chemicals and full of toxins. And this is extremely pure. So one more thing, I know he's going to touch on this as well. I'm going to defer a lot of these things to Leon. Everything that we do here is going to benefit the ministry financially. If you make a purchase through one of the brothers that's set up, then that's going to directly benefit the ministry. So I just want you to be aware of that, and we'll talk about how that works as well. Any of the people that are enrolling to run this as a business, those will be the first people that are taking purchase orders if you want to make a purchase. But we'll talk about how that works at another point. So having said that, I'm going to turn it over to Brother Leon. He has got extensive medical training through numerous medical classes that he's attended. He's got years of understanding and a lot of study on doTERRA itself. I would definitely say that he is an expert level when it comes to the technical side of it. Having said that, one last thing, there's a book called Modern Essentials. There are many different versions of that book, Modern Essentials, and you can learn a lot of things, like I said, off of other YouTube and off of information online and books. There's a lot of information out there. But you can get this Modern Essentials book and simply look up any problem, whether it be tightness in your chest breathing or a cut on your hand, whatever it might be, even stuff with babies, okay? And you can simply look at that, and it's going to give you several different options of different oils and how to use them, aromatically, topically, or internally. And the purity of these oils, you can put it directly in your mouth and take it. That is not the case on a lot of the oils. So these are not the same as most of the other oils that are out there. If somebody says, well, I have something that's kind of like that, that's kind of like a lot of things that people say are like something, but they're not. So having said that, here's Brother Leon.
Praise y'all, saints. Hey, look, sisters, this is a lot of vital information. If you have a child here and they are making noise, we're going to need you to take the child over to the old tabernacle, the new child house. Hallelujah. All right. It's being recorded, so you'll be able to watch it later. I know you want to be here, but we cannot fight the noise of the children. Hallelujah. So if your child is making any kind of noise, you need to leave this building totally and go over to the child house, the old tabernacle. Hallelujah. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Leon Green, and I'm from Denver, Colorado, along with Luke. And so I found out about doTERRA, and doTERRA means gift of the earth. It's Latin for gift of the earth. And I found out about it in 2011, and I was at a preppers convention or survival expo, and I had everything: body armor, night vision. One thing I could not get after Katrina was hundreds of pounds of antibiotics. You can go talk to your doctor and say, hey, I would like to buy these in case my kids get sick, diarrhea, dysentery, cholera, all these things. And what are the doctors going to tell you? I can't give it to you, right? So other people, the preppers always will do is they'll get like fish mocks or the fish drugs, which are made in the same locations as the human drugs. The only difference is the price is like a third, a fourth. But the FDA does not endorse it, so many people would backdoor it. And you can buy a lot of that, and now they found out the number of people have bought so many of them, they're actually preventing those sales now. So I wanted to find something that didn't have a shelf life, that didn't have side effects that kill people. Because if you watch the commercials on TV, what do you see the last 15% of every commercial? This may cause nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, anal leakage, suicidal ideation, and death. And you're like, wow, I only had a sore throat. And so, okay. And over 600,000 people die each year in America due to iatrogenic disease. That is, the doctors do the best they can with what they have, but they still make mistakes. You know, they get very little sleep. You know, you heard of residents, they may be on call for 18, 20 hours. And if they say, we're supposed to amputate this arm, and they cut off the wrong one, have you heard about those? Where they leave scalpels inside of open wounds, right? And people have pierced that's called iatrogenic disease. You never hear about it on TV. You can look that up. It's spelled IATRAGENIC, iatrogenic. And that's where they give you the wrong drug, they make a mistake. And because the drugs that are made are synthetic, that is why you have all those reactions. They are not natural. We're going to go and discuss that. Each class is going to be different. So this is 101, 102, and then 201. And then there's going to be one medical class that we're just going to talk about, separate from the oils, about things like cat tourniquets, or tourniquets to prevent bleed out, and things of that nature. So we're going to address those issues as well. So when I found this information at this expo, it changed everything, because I realized I can now protect my family and not get sick and not have all the side effects and not have the huge expenses attached to pharmaceutical drugs. And many people say, well, my insurance company pays for it. Yes, but was anybody affected by Katrina? Raise your hand. Okay. Could you go to a Walmart, CVS, and pick up drugs when all the lights are off and pick up things? Okay, so think about this. What antibiotics do you have right now in your house if everything went dark, whether it's an EMP or whatever? Whatever drugs you have is all you have, period. You're not going to be able to resupply. It's not like the military will come in and drop meds on your house. That's not going to happen. So if you are not prepared now, just like you're not, and if you aren't spiritually prepared for what's coming down the pike, it's going to be equally, if not worse. So that is why I saw the benefits of using the oils. And so let me do the FDA disclaimer. And this is the disclaimer that's required by the government to say, these statements have not been evaluated by the FDA, and these treatments have not been approved. So we have to say that because the only people that can say cure and treat are FDA-approved priests, okay? You understand? Because they can, I mean, think about the temples, the money temples and the medical temples. 150 years ago, nobody's alive back then. What did they have prior to that? Natural. Look in the Bible, and a matter of fact, have you started passing that notepad around? Anybody who wants to see a PowerPoint video by a Christian woman who had all the oils of the Bible. So she talks about cassia and frankincense and myrrh. So you can see that. And so remember, if you look in Genesis 1:29, do you remember what that was? For I give you all seed-bearing plants for your benefit. So God has already provided for us. And animals don't naturally eat drugs, right? They don't get the pharmaceuticals, so they still exist without it. And so I'm going to address many different ones, and each class will be different. So even if you cannot attend each one, we pray that we can get them all recorded so you can still catch them in the future. So the oils are natural. You're carbon-based, and the plants are carbon-based. So what you can do is they are bioavailable immediate. Whereas 150 years ago, that's when they started working with pharmaceutical companies. The Rockefellers, the Carnegies had all this petrol, and they said, here, we are going to, how else can we synthesize and make more money? So what they did was they started using these petrochemicals, and they would take knockoffs. So for example, frankincense has over 650 known constituents. They may say, hey, if we know that this is highly anti-carcinogenic, let's just focus on this molecule. And that's all they do. But that is completely man-made. And it's because it's not natural, your body will reject it. And that's how you hear of all these liver damages. People die with liver cancer and things of that nature. As he talked about toxins. I mean, even the lead poisoning when you're shooting. You shouldn't consume any food when you're shooting, period. Male or female, because it will go right through your skin. So it's important what you allow to touch your heart as well as your skin. And so the oils are typically distilled 3 different ways. So there's distillation, which they get a plant like peppermint. I'm going to pass a couple of these around so you can actually see them. You know, I can tell you a lot of things, but if you've ever been to Sam's Club or Costco and you taste something and you see how powerful it is and how good it is, you purchase it. And so the oils are the same way here. We're going to pass some peppermint. You can put a drop on, and I call it, or people on my team call it the Leon snort, because it gets your attention. So what you do is you put a drop on your. You want to pass it? So just put a drop on your knuckle. Just one. Taste it, and then if you're strong enough, you can put it in your nose and just inhale. And a couple of people did it this morning, and they really got to see the impact. So what happens is the peppermint will go up your nose. It's a vasodilator. That means it allows more oxygen. It increases oxygen flow by up to 30%. So anybody who's into sports, who likes to exercise, who likes to walk the dog or whatever, it will increase your flow, your breathing, immensely. And so if you are doing marathons or Ironman or Spartan, you can breathe much better. So try that and see the impact it has on it. It will also increase your mental clarity too. A lot of these oils are like multi-tools. Lemon, lavender, peppermint. Peppermint is an analgesic, as it means it takes away pain. So if you have a localized pain, whether you stub your toe, you can put a drop on there and it will actually, it'll be a pain reliever in that capacity. That's why it's also in our most popular oil most popular product called Deep Blue. And people who have back pain, this is the bomb. People love this. And for exercising, I mean, when I go skiing, I love to ski. That's why I moved to Colorado in the first place. I can ski 7 days straight, 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock at night with no problem using Deep Blue. But if I don't, it's a short day on the slopes because of how but I also take peppermint while I'm skiing as well, so it keeps me going. So these oils are multi-tiered, multifaceted. They have the ability to do many different things. So the 3 ways that they normally get oils are steam distillation. That means they put peppermint and all the biomass and whatever oil you're going after in a pressure cooker. They pressurize it and they heat it up. And then different molecules will come out of the biomass. And in this case, this is only peppermint oil from the leaf. And I wish I had some pictures to show you, but in essence, have you ever broken a mint leaf and you can smell it on your fingers? Those oil sacs are the way the plant will protect itself from predators like deer and any of the animals that like to eat it. So since the plant can't move, it uses chemical warfare that God Yah produced. So this is the way it protects itself. And so it protects it from viruses, bacteria, and fungus. And being down here in the South, you know fungus is among us, right? I live in Colorado. It's average of 7%. And so we don't have much fungus, but when it does, it can get pretty bad. And black mold, especially after the people in Katrina, they had to demolish hundreds, if not thousands, of houses because of how deadly black mold is. It's one of the most toxic molds in the world. And so 3 ways again. So you have steam distillation, then you have compression or a cold pressing. If you know how they do olive oil, they press the oils. Remember the wine press? So you press the citrus oils, lemon, tangerine, lime, and you press out the oils, and then you have the pure liquid. And then there's the solvents that they use, like with frankincense. There's a BBC 3-hour special you can watch on YouTube. It talks about the spice trail, where they go from the Horn of Africa and Somalia and Ethiopia and Eritrea, and they take the oils in a dried state called frankincense tears, and they put them on the back of camels, and then they walk 2,000 miles around the Arabian Peninsula. And so they use certain solvents that are natural, they've been doing for 4,000 years, and they take those solvents and they dissolve the frankincense, and then it's available. So they've been doing frankincense since before Yeshua, and since before he was on earth. Okay? I mean, the oils have been around for over 6,000 years. And inside this book, it talks about the history. It has the medical records, Pluto, Socrates. Socrates said, "Let thy food be thy medicine." So if you know that's the case, why are we, and since this is a unique ministry here, you know the truth. Why do we accept the lies, the fake media that tells us, yeah, we need to take a pill for this ill and another pill for this ill? That's because we've been brainwashed, just like the, quote, churchianity of we're supposed to do this, and here's Easter and all that. So with that same strength that you have in your belief in Yeshua, you should have with your body as well. So if I got hurt on the way driving here, we have the best trauma medicine in the world. But other than that, I don't touch the pharmakia, okay, because of the fact that it is, even the word pharmakia, pharmacopa, pharmaceutical, that derivative word is Greek for divination. Look it up. And so you already know what it says in Deuteronomy is the stone them, right? The sorcerers. Well, that same thing applies here. So I'm not saying go to the church, go to the hospitals and do evil things. I'm just saying that if you know that all they do is produce sorcery, stick with the natural. Eat organic as much as possible. Drink purified water. Be in the Word. Yes. So back with the oils, in the fact that the oils they are compiled, and with doTERRA specifically, we have the highest quality oils in the world. If you look on the bottle that it was passed around, you'll see a label on there. They started it about 2 years ago, and it's called, if you have notes, please write this down, Source to You. Source to You. On here, there's a little QR code in here. And on that code, you can take a picture with your camera, and it'll actually tell you everything about this. The oils that were in there, how they were made, and we're the only company in the entire world that actually gives that kind of transparency. Because we want you to know that, like this bottle of lavender, the best lavender in the world comes from Bulgaria and the south of France. Other companies will say, hey, we do it in our backyard here in America. Do you want the best quality oils for a burn that you have on your hand? Or do you want one just because it's, quote, here in America that is better? I prefer America, but when it comes to quality and pain, I want the stuff that works now, okay? So I assume you have the same sentiment. So we source the oils where they are the best. We get the best species. There are many different lavenders. You can grow lavender in your backyard. It may smell great. Will it take away the pain as this specific species does? The number of tests, doTERRA is a scientific company. That's the first statement we say, is we're a wellness company and we have science to back it up. You don't have to believe me or Brother Luke. You can see there's over 40,000 studies on essential oils at this American clearinghouse called PubMed.org. If you look that up, PubMed.org or PubMed.gov, you can type in the word frankincense, cancer, and you'll see over 100 studies that all the chemical companies are doing to see if they can make some of this money and take it away from natural ability or natural choices. So Is anybody from Georgia around here? Okay. You know, Georgia Tech did a study 2 years ago, and it said ginger oil and dried is 10,000 times more effective than chemotherapy. And that study is available if you go to, you just type that in. And so ginger oil is phenomenal. How many people have been affected by cancer? Raise your hands. Friends, relatives? Okay, and I'm not saying personally. Yeah, 1 out of 2 men in America will get cancer. 1 out of 3 women will get cancer. So it is something that touches everybody. And matter of fact, it is actually getting worse now because we have over 85,000 chemicals here in America alone. So what happens is those chemicals get in your body, they're in the air, whether it's barium. We can just go down a list of all the chemicals that people are exposed to. I'm painting my truck and I'm dealing with xylene and toluene and all sorts of nasty things. So those things, if you're a painter, if you're a welder, and women with acetone, but most of these ladies they don't go to those shops anymore, right? With the fingernails and the acetone poison that they dip their fingers in. So, amen. So you've protected yourself immensely right there. So, but there's also some nasty chemicals that they use in kitchen supplies too that can be quite aggressive too. So what's most important about the oils are that you have the ability to protect your family now and see and have the confidence. Has everyone got a chance to do the peppermint? Is it still passing around? Okay. Do you see the difference in, okay, and that's just one oil. We have over 150 different oils. So that shows you the impact of how quick it is. It doesn't have to take 20 minutes like some drugs say, oh, take this, 2 hours before your surgery. You can take it, and within seconds, your body realizes that's natural, and they absorb it. So it is great for vasodilation or breathing, and for expanding the blood flow in the body. And so peppermint has so many different benefits. So we'll just use this as an example. So peppermint is great for menopause, hot flashes, localized pain. And so for the ladies, when you have friends that are just about to get to that point, peppermint is a godsend. Another one is called Balance. And Balance is a blend that's exclusive to the doTERRA, and that's also effective for emotions as well. But peppermint has a ton of benefits, but the one that is the magical oil is frankincense. If you don't know which one to reach for, peppermint will address those issues, whether it is lack of focus, whether it is it's antiseptic, it's also anti-canceral, anti-tumoral. There was a reason why baby Yeshua received frankincense and myrrh and then gold. So gold was the last, and even though it was just money, the frankincense and myrrh were health related. And there's a reason why they quote them over 400 times in the Bible. Essential oils are described. If you remember spikenard, cassia, rose of Sharon, all those oils, they would not talk about things in the Bible if it was frivolous, would they? So if they talk about it over 400 times in the Bible, there's a reason for that. And so I would like you, if you put your information down, I will send you the information, that the PowerPoint and PDF on the oils of the Bible. So you can read it firsthand, have your Bible open with you, and you can see how they're applied. So you don't have to necessarily believe me in that regard. So it's important that the oils have to be potent and they have to be pure. Because if they are not pure, then you're dealing with the adulteration. 85% of all essential oils out there, separate from doTERRA, is adulterated. And that means they may have just used coconut oil or safflower or jojoba oil to dilute it. So you have a bottle of, say, frankincense. And what they do is and frankincense is not a cheap oil by any stretch of imagination. So if they have they have frankincense and they want to trick the public, what they'll do is they'll have this and then maybe put 9 parts and they dilute it 10 times. So what happens is you're thinking you're getting pure frankincense and they've diluted it. So they've ripped you off, but they don't tell you that. And so many people will think, well, that's close enough. Do you want something that's close enough, or do you want the real thing as powerful as possible? Okay? And so the next one is, people ask about all the time about organic. Is it organic? And many companies will say organic. Well, you can have organic up on top of the hill. You know, those people that have the cows up there, they can have organic up there. But if the neighbor next door, or if they have a garden, or your own garden, think about it. Does anybody have a garden in here? So you may have, everything you do is organic. You have diatomaceous earth, you have compost tea, you bring in ladybugs and praying mantis. But if your neighbor right next to you does glyphosate, right, and kills all the weeds, you know that stuff gets on your basil and gets on your tomato, and now you're eating that poison, right? So when people say ours are organic, that is a misnomer, because it can be organic when they made it, but by the time it got into the bottle, it was no longer organic. So on that QR code I told you about earlier, you can actually see every component. And the testing, we test, there are 2 secondary entities that test every bottle and every liter of oil for pesticides, insecticides, chemicals, dilutants. And since I've been with the company, I've asked, and they said, yeah, we have had to reject oils. And I'm like, why? They said, because it did not meet our expectations. So doTERRA has the integrity. It is not a publicly traded company. It is owned by 7 people in Salt Lake City. And they are a Christian-based company, and they are very much a family-based company. So Donna Karen tried to buy us back in 2009, and Costco wanted to buy us as well. And we said no, because we know that once big companies get in there, they're like, we're going to lowball it. We want to make it as cheap as possible. We don't care about the health aspects. So doTERRA has the integrity of saying, if it is not perfect, we don't want it. The other companies can sell it, we don't care. We just know that if it's going to be in our bodies and we're going to drink it and we're going to put it on our children, we want to have perfection. And that's the integrity of the company. Okay? It isn't. And so potency and purity are by far our highest expectations. Now, another oil that is very, very much used is lavender. Lavender is fantastic for calming down. Peppermint is great for staying awake. When I drove in from Denver, I drove 2,000 miles, making a pit stop in Indianapolis. And so lavender is fantastic. Now that you've got off watch, you're off duty, you want to go to sleep, you're done with work, lavender is fantastic. It's great as an analgesic. It is as another pain reliever. I was at another camp in Colorado several years ago. This little girl, she burned her hand on a fire pit, and her hand was scorched. And she was with another company. Her mother was with another oil company, and she said, "Oh, her lavender didn't work. It didn't have any effect on her." And I asked the mom. I said, "Are you open to the natural healing?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Do you have any?" So I let her try clove oil, which will temporarily deaden the nerves. So what happens is, why have they used clove in dental offices for 2,000 years? You know, because it's a pain reliever, and it also is highly anti-infective. And the mouth is the dirtiest orifice in the entire body. So when you chew on that, you're actually deadening the pain. So if they're going to extract your tooth. So in her case, I put a drop of clove on her finger, and I had to cover it up. And then I said, put a drop of peppermint on. She put that on there. This was late at night. It was like 10, 11 o'clock at night. She went to bed. Next morning, her mom and her daughter were knocking on my tent going, I'm like, who's waking me up this early? That stuff works well. Can we get some more of that? It just blew me away that this mother, who I'd known for several years, was so impressed by it that her daughter was like, Mom, I don't have the burn. I don't have the huge swelling from a scorch in the fire pit. So I have seen so many different miracles that have occurred using these oils. Everything from people who almost died. One man was going to lose his leg because of diabetes. That he used the oils, that all the drugs that they had could not get rid of this bacteria that he had in his leg. And the doctor said, if we don't eliminate this bacteria, you're going to lose your leg. So my friend called me and said, hey, can you come to the hospital and explain to my brother why it's important he changes his diet, and can you bring some oils to protect him? So I brought this book, and we looked up specifically the type of bacteria he had, and we made a blend for him. I told him to take this every 15 minutes because he was already on an IV drip. So he was hooked up, he was dripping, and the doctor said, everything we've given you, vancomycin, penicillin, amoxicillin, all the drugs, none of it worked. And so we gave him the oils, and the first thing the nurses said, are those flammable? That was the only concern. They didn't care if they worked. They were like, is this going to blow up the hospital? That's all they were concerned about, okay? And so the oils are not flammable. You can take them in a hospital, you can use a diffuser, and one thing I want to make sure we do in the future is have the oils being diffused during the service, because they go airborne and they kill airborne bacteria and viruses. And so if you go to YouTube and look up Vanderbilt ER and doTERRA, you'll see a 4-minute PSA, public service announcement, about how they use the oils, and they're still using them in this ER. And they use the oils because of how effective they are in work-related stress and work-related frustration. Imagine you had to go to an ER because your mother fell down and broke her hip, or your son fell off the roof. Would you want to see somebody on their phone? If you want to see your child, would you want to see somebody doing this when you want to see your child immediately, or your mother? And so they were getting chewed out because they were expecting immediate service and they didn't get it. So in this capacity, just breathing oils, it calmed down the people coming in along with the people who were on staff. So on that video, you'll see it reduced work-related stress by 90% and work-related frustration by 95%. And that video is available now. But pertaining to that woman, Elisa, she had, her brother's leg was in such bad shape they were gonna amputate. So I explained to him, I gave him all the information, I showed him the science. He used it. 2 days later, he was out of the hospital. He went home. Okay? And that would be awesome had he not gone back to his bad diet. So what do you think happened 2 weeks later? Came right back. So now he's missing a leg, and his sister has lost both of their parents and the aunt, and it's pretty much a generational curse because that family just has it. And so you may have to make some changes. And like you heard, I did not catch him when he was describing, the ascent here, going up to Jerusalem or going up to the temple, about exercising and getting out and making some changes in your life and some changes in your diet. We have the Southern diet, or the American diet, the SAD. Have you heard that called? Standard American Diet. It's also called SAD, right? This is the first generation in U.S. history that's actually going to be, the children are going to live less than their parents because the diet and the activity level is less, which is really sad because you think normally with all the advent of better medical, everybody would live longer, but the diet is getting worse and worse. And if you see all the plastic bags everywhere, what's going to happen to those kids too. So, and we were talking about toxins. There's toxins in the food. The preservatives, if on the can you cannot pronounce it, or you can't pronounce it on the bag, you shouldn't be consuming it. If it has more than 5, 6, 7 syllables, you should definitely not be eating it, okay? And I know people have their comfort food. And there's a thing about moderation, but moderation is like common sense. It is so uncommon these days. And you see that, in the church, right? You see people who just expect, the traditions, that shirt that everybody wears. Commandments over traditions, right? Same thing here. So that same thing applies. There'll have to be some changes spiritually in all of us and medically, especially if you anticipate trials and tribulation to come in the next 5-10 years, and that's why you hear these preparations and what they're doing now. So if things are going to change and you don't change with it, there's going to be some heavy seas. So back with the lavender. If you look at that information on lavender, and I don't have one with me, do you have time to see one of them? So lavender is a phenomenal antihistamine. It has one of the best antihistamine properties in the world. So you can use it along with peppermint and lemon for allergies, food allergies, drug allergies, and mold allergies. So it is very effective in those capacities. If you get cut, lavender is phenomenal for scar tissues. It actually is a tissue regenerator when it comes to cuts and scars. Now, if you've had a scar for 15 years, or like a keloid, you may have to use different oils for that, and they can be effective in the future. But if you've had a scar for many, many years, it's going to take a while for you to get rid of that. Now, for sleep, there's not a better oil for sleep. We have one called Serenity, and this is what I take. It's a capsule. So this capsule not only has lavender and several other oils in there, but this is doTERRA did a study with 400 volunteers, and they found out how effective using this along with lavender was in sleep, and the amount of sleep. And it was a scientific study where they checked the amount of REM sleep, which is a rapid eye movement sleep, and they found that the depth of sleep was longer and stronger. If they woke up to use the restroom, they'd go back to sleep faster and deeper, and noises affected their sleep less as well. So I use this when I travel, and I use it every night. That is a phenomenal combo to use them together, and they're not identical. They're two different ones, but when they're used in conjunction, they work very well. So that's lavender. And I would say for relaxation, there's probably not a better one for that, because you can use it especially for children. You can put a drop of lavender on the bottom of their feet, and if you don't have an electronic diffuser, you can touch it to your nose, and it'll calm you down too. Your nose becomes a diffuser, so it's a pretty simple way of being able to do it. So when you think of the use of lavender, if you ever get stressed, lavender can be used with that. Just like citrus oils. Any of the citrus oils are great for stress. You can also combine them. In the diffuser, you can put lavender, or you can do citrus oils along with On Guard, which we'll talk about later. And that will go airborne. It goes in through your nose. It goes through your alveoli and your bronchial tubes, and goes into your bloodstream. So now it's able to kill the bacteria in your blood, because these are actually at the level, one drop will be able to go through your entire body and coat each cell 9 times. That's how fine these are. And within, you see how fast that peppermint was? That's exactly how fast it goes into the bloodstream. So your body, the heart, pumps so often, and it is able to coat your cells so quickly. So that's how, when you get a bacteria or you get a virus, it can go to your 2 trillion plus cells very quickly. And so when you use On Guard, which we'll talk about later, On Guard's phenomenal for prevention as a prophylactic. You use it so you don't get sick. But if you've already gotten sick, then there are other oils. You still use On Guard, but you can use other oils to negate that sickness even faster. So the next oil is Melaleuca. And Melaleuca you also know as tea tree oil. And so tea tree oil has been used for thousands of years, especially for fungus. Okay? And so it is highly effective for being antiviral and antibacterial. This, along with thyme oil and marjoram, is very effective in eliminating biofilm. And that's how the bacteria protect themselves. They make a little sludge, and they pack themselves in the sludge, and it's hard for your leukocytes, your white blood cells, your phagocytes to get in there and kill it. Whereas this and thyme oil can actually break that up. Then the On Guard can knock out those bacteria or viruses. And so if you ever have any skin issues, Melaleuca is phenomenal for cuts, abrasions, scars. It's really not a tissue regenerator. What it will do is prevent you from getting infected. So if you get an abrasion, I saw somebody had a nick on his head the other day. And he can put that on topically, cover it up. So you put a drop on, cover it up, wait about a minute. It'll go into your hand. It'll also go into your skull, and you'll get close to 100% absorption. Like with your peppermint, you put on your nose. Some of it went up your nose, but about 70% just went up to the air. So whenever I do the oils, I typically will put a drop on if I don't want to do it sublingually. And sublingually is the fastest way to get something into your body without a IV injection or without injecting it, because when it goes in sublingually, it gets into the bloodstream very, very fast. But it's much easier than trying to hit a vein. And so you can do things sublingually. You can put them transdermally, which you already see with the peppermint. And you can also breathe it just naturally. So our oils are so pure, you can cook with them. So that lavender, any of the oils you can cook with. Lavender is an acquired taste for cooking. The French love making like lavender chocolate. I don't know if anyone ever had that before. Sister back there likes it. So if you like to cook, the oil's phenomenal, because if you don't have basil in the middle of winter and there's 2 feet of snow and you want to make Italian food that actually tastes real and has lots of vibrancy, cilantro. And I make salsa. I can put black pepper and cilantro and coriander, lime and lime oil. I put all those in there. And so I love fresh tasting salsa. When I make Indian food, I use cardamom and ginger. And so you can use all these oils for cooking as well. And when you use oregano, ladies, or men for that matter, you only put a toothpick into the nozzle. It's a micro nozzle, because if you put a whole drop in, it'll just be an oregano soup, because that's how strong it is. Okay, it is very, very strong. So there's so many uses for the oils, for cooking, and you can also use the oils for plants. I mean, plants for that matter as well. But how many of you have livestock? 1, 2, okay, 3. So think about this. Have any of you heard of Purdue Farms? They do the chicken. They don't use antibiotics in their chickens. What they do is they use marjoram and thyme. And so instead of you getting shot up with all the antibiotics, and 70% of the antibiotics in America are used directly for livestock. So you may say, I'm getting organic food. But unless you're getting organic meat, you're taking all those antibiotics and they're taking them into you. And so those antibiotics are killing your own probiotics. And that is the gut bacteria that protects you. It helps dissolve the food and makes it more bioavailable. But if you don't have a strong probiotic system, you'll be infected more, your immune system will be compromised, and you'll be exposed to much more problems than you need to be. So keeping a healthy gut flora is important as well. And so doTERRA has one called PB Assist and PB Assist Junior. And so this one is pretty neat because it has, and doTERRA is the only one that actually has it. People say, well, I take kefir, I do kombucha, and all the fermented food, which is fantastic. The only challenge is your stomach acids. Your sulfuric acid, the hydrochloric acid will dissolve and kill a lot of the bacteria. And so this is an enteric-coated capsule, and these are microcapsules, but there's one, it's got PB Assist for adults. And children like this because they think of it as like pixie sticks. It's very sweet, but it gets into the upper and lower intestine where you want to have the probiotics. Because if you don't get it to the place where it needs to be, it'll just be dissolved by the acids, and then you just spend all that money for the kefir and yogurt. And for you to have this much, which is 5 billion colony forming units in your gut, you'd have to eat about 80 pounds of yogurt. And nobody's going to eat that. So you're thinking, I'm eating one piece of yogurt, I got my probiotics. It does not apply. You really need to get something that can get your gut. And that's why you see the other companies will say, we have 20 billion. Yeah, but most of it's going to be dissolved and killed. About 95% gets killed in the gut. Whereas this 95% gets to the place it needs to be. So this one's a very easy way to use it. And for mothers, this shows you how easy it is. The biggest challenge with this in kids is not having them eat the whole box in one day because it tastes just like candy. And so I actually have to hide this up high so the kids don't do it. So doTERRA has essential oils. There's even a women's line and a kids line, kids care. And they're now going to be doing, just at the most recent convention they had a month and a half ago in Salt Lake City, they are working on a pet care. Since 70% of Americans have some kind of pets, the vast majority are dogs, we're going to have oils that will protect your dog. And Brother Luke had a business, and he can talk about how the oils helped his dog immensely. They got an attack, and we'll let him describe it. But the oils can help from scarring, and because they're antibacterial and anti-infectious, you know, he did if you don't get an infection, then you, in his case, it saved him thousands of dollars, you know, in emergency use. And so by using the oils as a prevention, it helps you personally. Because if you're not sick, you're not dealing with throwing up, you're not dealing with missing work or taking sick pay. Think about it. If you're healthier, your quality of life is much higher. You're not dealing with all the sicknesses of the world either, are you? And so that's the advantage of using the oils as a prevention. The more knowledge you have, the better protected you are. Just like Hosea 4:6. What is it? My people perish because of lack of? Yes. And so that man who lost his leg because he knew it and went right back into the same, it was like the dog going back to the vomit, which was so sad because, you know, I was disappointed for him because now it's changed his whole life. He now is in a wheelchair or walking, hobbling, where he used to like to run. Well, that changed his life drastically. So what we want to do is give you the knowledge so you can take this back to your family if they're not all here with you and share. And the way doTERRA grows is we share the oils with others. They get to see the benefits firsthand, and then you can use them themselves. So you can acquire the oils via Brother Luke's going to be here the entire week, and he'll be able to show you how to do that along with Sister Summer. And I saw the benefits of the oils in my life so much that I decided I would do this as a business. I used to be a Navy officer in the first Persian Gulf War. I came back. I became an undercover private investigator, and then I had 3 different jobs. I had very little time with my children, and then when I found out how powerful these oils were, and also the ability to help people as well as help me financially, I started pursuing it. And then once I got to a point that I was making more money doing this part-time as working 82 hours a week in the summertime, I called all 3 of my bosses and said, your services are no longer required or requested. Thank you for the blessing. So I don't want to make this a long, drawn-out class, but I want you to get an overview, a macro view of the oils. So in essence, you can use these oils now, and we'll do a little bit of Q&A, and then in the next class, we're going to go much more in depth into the oils. And then there's supposed to be a 3rd class. We're going to talk about the medical emergencies, and then the 4th one is going to be much more advanced and talk much more about the business. So it's very simple. You can use 1 or 2 drops, and the 4 oils Dr. Hill recommends everybody in the world uses every day are lemon, frankincense, balance, and on guard. It doesn't matter your age or not. You use those. Lemon is a detoxifier. It will help protect your body from all the toxins you're exposed to, whether in the air, in the water, and in the food. And then on guard. Did anybody fly here? Okay, we got a bunch. Okay, so think about this. You get on a plane, and you can get anywhere in the world within 48 hours. and less. And so you are now flying through, you're meeting up with people through the things that you touch, the bathrooms, everything at the airports. People connected with you from Heathrow in South Africa and South America, and all their bugs they brought in. And whenever you hear of pandemics, what's the first thing CDC says to do? Wash your hands, right? Because that's how most is transferred. I mean, unless you start talking about, pneumonia and things that are airborne, most of the diseases are via contact. And so if you can minimize contact by washing your hands on a regular basis, I mean, like you said, when you go get gas, some of the really high-end places up in Vail, Colorado, they even have plastic bags. So when you want to pour the put in the gas, you put your hand in the gloves, so you're not passing bugs from you to other people, or more importantly, from other people to you. And so protect yourself that way. But by taking the oils daily, you have the cleansing, the lemon cleansing, frankincense is phenomenal for inflammation. So for people who have arthritis, it is fantastic for that. Whether it is localized, like a broken pinky, you can use the oils for inflammation, edema. They're anti-cancerous and anti-tumoral. And we're going to set up a library here, and we're just going to have a bunch of books here, so you can learn more, especially for the people who live here. But you can get this book on Amazon. Now this is the 5th edition. So each edition they kept adding. Each year they would add more oils. And so when I first joined, they had the 5th edition out, and that's the last one in which the FDA wasn't pressured by the drug company saying, hey, we need to curtail this, because they didn't like that $8 billion was being siphoned off the governmental, the drug companies, and they were mad. So they started harping on us. So if you want to find the original, this is a way to go. The subsequent ones are very good too, but they can't say cancer. They can say, the way they describe it is, I don't know, it's just so irritating. I haven't even memorized it, but it's all legalese. So you can look up things that are anti-cancerous, and you can type it in. If you type in pubmed.gov, you can actually look up cancer, frankincense, and it'll have all these studies. And it's not unique to oils. There's over 2 million studies worldwide that talk about different modalities and protocols. So whether it is traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic from India, Native American, and all the drugs, all the different techniques that they use worldwide, those studies are available. So you can look those up specifically by going to pubmed.gov to learn more. But what is nice about the book is if you know what the issue is, or is it respiratory? Is it digestive? Is it circulatory? You can look up what that issue is, and you can find the oil. And many of the oils will have multiple applications. So peppermint was for breathing, but it's also for mental focus. It's a natural stimulant. You won't get the jitters like you get from 5-Hour Energy and all those other, or coffee, if some people get addicted to caffeine. So, and there's oils that will help with addictions like smoking or alcohol or drugs. There's oils that are effective in eliminating that. So we were talking about the deliverance last night, and you can incorporate the oils with the people who have those issues with that at the same time. So that might be something that we could pursue when you get a chance. And so what we really want to do is set up a library so people can get educated, and I want to have a couple books for the mothers or expectant mothers so they can see how they can use the oils throughout the pregnancy, as well as within hours of being born. You can put the oils on a baby. And so the oils have applications with the livestock as well. So you can use the oils with chickens and goats. You can put it. Oregano is phenomenal. That's another oil that's in our 10-pack I was telling you about, called the Home Essentials Kit. It has 10 oils in there. So it's lemon, lavender, oregano, frankincense, melaleuca, and peppermint. Those are the single oils. And then it also has the On Guard, which is the anti-infectious, antibacterial, antiviral, the prevention and balance, which is a calming oil. I use it with the vets who have PTSD, who deal with TBIs or traumatic brain injuries or post-traumatic stress disorder. It helps them with sleeping and also helps them with night terrors or flashbacks. And so we were working with the VA, but having been in the military and knowing how long it is, they would rather have 22 people die in America by suicide that were prior vets every day and one active duty. And this was 8 years ago. We tried getting them. They were like, oh, we need you to jump through all these hoops. And I'm like, this is totally inane that people are dying because you guys are dragging your butt. And that just shows you the governmental incompetence, and it makes me mad. But if you expect the government to take care of your family, that's as bad as expecting them to take care of your soul. Okay, that's probably a very good correlation. So the oils can be those 4 oils. So lemon, frankincense, on guard, and balance. You use those daily, 2 drops, a drop in the morning, drop at night when you go to sleep. If you get sick because you've been on a plane or you've been in a mass group with people and you've passed bugs, then what happens, you increase the levels. You do not become dependent, you cannot become addicted. Unlike drugs, like you know about the opioid crisis right now. I was driving through Vegas 2 months ago and Salt Lake City, and they have signs on the board saying, if you know of an opioid victim, contact FBI.gov. I was like, holy cow, see something, say something. It was like Nazi, right? And I took some of these pictures and I was just blown away how the government is wanting you to rat out your, and yeah, apparently some 30,000 people are dying from opioids now. And so it is a crisis. But if you can use the oils, you can minimize stress, infection, disease, stress, inflammation. There's so many benefits. And because the oils are natural, your body knows exactly what they're for. So even though you may have a headache, the peppermint can help you with the stomachache at the same time. Peppermint is great for indigestion. So they're multifaceted. Lavender is great for stress, but if you have a scar right here and you put it on, it's not going to be just for that scar. It's going to calm your whole body down. And just like the peppermint was able to allow you to focus, and they are multi-tools. And frankincense has over 650 different components. And because of that, you get all the benefits just taking 1 drop, even though you didn't know that, arthritis may be creeping up on you. And I'm not trying to speak it into, but when I broke my knee skiing in Colorado, I asked the doctor, I said, well, I need any surgery? He said, no, you don't need surgery. I said, well, what are the repercussions? He said, you may have osteoarthritis, right? And I was like, I don't receive that. And but it stayed away for 13 years. But then I was skiing again, and I'm like, oh, what's up with this knee? And then I realized it was because of the broken knee. So some things we do come back to bite us regardless. And the older you get, the more you know that happens. So, I try to tell my son, hey, there are certain dumb things not to do. And if you can focus, would you rather learn from me or do the mistake and then you find out, wow, I thought I was wiser than Dad, and now I have this pain. Low back pain is one, for example. Anybody have low back pain? That is one pain, in most cases, that as a PI, I used to chase all the time. And that's the one that they cannot always verify. So many people would lie on low back and get away with it. And we're talking $300 billion a year is spent on low back pain alone. And so when you blow out those muscles and ligaments back there, those are the hardest ones to regenerate and recover. So you may have that pain for the rest of your life, and if deliverance helps you, amen. I pray that does help. But if it doesn't, the people who have it, I still have the low back pain from diving. So I definitely changed my posture, and I've changed my life because of it. But if you don't have to be in the pain, back with prevention. Whatever you can do to prevent from getting hurt in the first place, that's the smartest way to do, isn't it? So the same way. So you take the oils as prevention. But if you get sick, like I was here at GOTS 2 or 3 years ago, and then passed over. And he would always talk about the number of people who get sick, when they come here, because they're traveling long distances. So that now their immune system's starting to go down because they've driven from Washington or from Florida, and so they've had a compromised immune system. And now what's happened is they get here around other people who have compromised immune system, and they all pass the bugs around. Do you remember hearing that? Okay, so the way you do is you take these oils now before you go to sleep and when you wake up. And then if you start feeling, the signs of a sickness coming on, you start to feel fever, your throat starts to get a little verklempt, or it starts to act up, then you can increase it. And that's what's nice about the oils. You can't become addicted, you can't overdose on them. If you just take too much peppermint, you may be awake a little bit longer than you expected, right? But you're not going to have, it's not going to cause ADD, and you're not going to be shaking like if you drink 15 gallons of espresso coffee, okay? It doesn't have that impact. And lavender, if you just take 4 drops instead of 2 drops, you just may sleep a little bit longer than expected, but it's not gonna be like NyQuil or some of the Dayquil drugs where you wake up and you feel like somebody bashed you over the head. Yes. So the way you can get the oils is you can get them wholesale or you can get them retail. When you get them retail, you buy them straight 100%, and it gets sent directly from the company to your house. There are 2 main warehouses here in America. One's in Salt Lake City. The other one is here in Atlanta. So anywhere in North America, you can get the oils within 2.4 days. And we have a thing called SurePost. It's a combination of UPS and the post office. And so you have a tracking number, and it only costs $3.49. So, and then if you get on the loyalty rewards program, you can get the shipping for free, and you get the money back as free product. So the loyalty rewards program allows you to order and get the oils on a monthly basis, whatever ones you want. And then as you get to 1 year of ordering, they give you up to 30% back in free oils. So if does anybody have a Sam's Club or Costco account? How much do they give you back? 3%, right? Unless it's gas, or you don't get gas and cigarettes, I think, or some other things. But with doTERRA, they give you up to 30% back. So you actually get 55% off retail. So that's by far the smartest way to go, but if you have to go retail, that's the way you'd get it. If you get a membership, there is a wholesale and then there's a wellness advocate membership. A wholesale membership means you get it at 30% off. Correct? You get it at 25% off. The 30% was the loyalty rewards program. And all this information you can find on YouTube videos. They have that, and I can explain it if need be. But you get it at 25% off. And if you get that kit, that one I was telling you about, that has the 10 oils, it comes with the diffuser. That one is $275, and that includes the enrollment kit. The enrollment membership, and that's a membership. Whereas if you get it as a wellness advocate, the only difference between that and a wholesale membership is you have the ability to share the oils with others, and if they buy it, doTERRA will give you a referral bonus as saying, hey, you helped other people healthy. So I started in 2011, right around my birthday, and in October, and my number was 101,339, 100,000. Now we're at 8.5 million, and that's been since 2011. So we're growing by over 38,000 people, or 3,800 people a day, because people are tired of the drugs, they're tired of the expense and the side effects and the lying and the silly side effects from drugs. So this is a way for the believers and everybody, even non-believers, to be able to benefit, okay? To be healthier. And so that's why doTERRA is growing so fast, is because people are tired of the drugs. And so we have a way to benefit your family, your livestock, your garden, and posterity. They don't have a shelf life. You can put these oils, you can cache them with your ammo, with your medical supplies, and everything else, your toilet paper, and it is still going to be viable 100, 200 years from now, as long as they're cool, dark, and dry. They found in 1922, Howard Carter found 160 liters of frankincense, myrrh, and sandalwood in these amphora in the Egyptian pharaoh tombs. And they tested it. It was still medically viable 3,500 years later. So you are able to bless your grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren, if the Lord doesn't come back sooner, with the oils now. So you can bury them and you can still use them. So I have caches around the nation where I have stashed it. So if I ever have to bug out, I know I have something that can help me from an infection. And if I'm walking and I'm bugging out and whatever happened, EMP, and I have to walk home, I have a way to protect myself and anyone in my party. But the people who don't, those pharmaceutical drugs, they will last 3 to 5 years. And there's tetracycline actually becomes toxic. Did you know that? It's toxic to the liver. Not all the cycline family is toxic, but tetracycline is. And even the other antibiotics that are man-made, they don't completely go from 100% potency to 0 overnight. The FDA warning, the label, that's just saying that's maximum potency. It starts to drop off with different drugs. So if you have the oils, they are not impacted by time. They're impacted by UV, ultraviolet light, and moisture. So as long as you keep them dry and cool and out of the sunlight, they will be able to help that little baby's great-grandchildren 100 years from now. So that's what's really cool, is that you have something that you're able to protect yourself, and you have a legacy that you can pass on to your children now. And so, did I answer the question, or was there anything else you want me to about the other ways of getting them? Yes. Uh-huh. Okay. Yes. Yes. So if anyone is interested in using oils for a business point of view, if you want to share this with your friends and family, and so if there are people are separate from Straitway Ministry, you can share this with everybody in the world, and you can share it with other friends in here. But what we're saying is that since you are already part of Straitway, at least this is my philosophy based on what they've told me, is that you can share the oils with everybody in the world, and those people will be, quote, on your team. So all the profits that you help share or help other people getting healthy outside of Straitway, that's all your proceeds. The people that are already in Straitway, those are going to be on Pastor Dowell's team, and then the proceeds are going to benefit the ministry, as in building more things on the land, and all of his goals and all of your goals. So those are the goals here. Okay? Yes? So if you're interested in finding out or joining, you'll be able to join Brother Luke, and Sister Summer can show you how to do that. You can do it online. It takes about 3 minutes. You can also do it on the phone. It's easier by far to do it this way with them. And even people online, they can be able to register online through Pastor Dowell's. And do you have his website in the video? Okay. But since it's live, I was going to say it that way. But yes, we'll make sure we add that. So you'll be able to log on, register, and you'll be on their team, and you'll be able to share it. And you can actually share this with anybody in the world. And we are in over 138 different countries. Israel just opened up. I believe in the last 2 weeks they opened up. I was there with my son a year ago, and a major celebrity had another blood. He had septicemia, and they had him on drugs, and he wasn't looking very well. And so I said, "Hey, are you open to this?" And he said, "Yes." And I was surprised, because he was very, very much he was a believer. He's not Jewish, but he was a believer who said, "I don't know much about it, but I trust you." And so I gave him On Guard, and I gave him a bunch before I left Tel Aviv, and then I ordered it, and it came in from Berlin, and he was using the oils. He is now he's still on tour now. He does a bunch of bunch of book writing, but the oils have changed his life. But I haven't been back to Israel to to talk to him and see the difference. But to show you that it doesn't matter if you're high and mighty or just a lowly person. We're all the same in God's sight. He's no respecter of persons. And we have oils now in Philippines and in China. So if you have friends all over the planet and you want to share it with them, you can. And so all these Straitway houses or locations, other 9 locations or more nationwide, you can share it with them as well. So you're able to benefit everybody in Straitway, but everybody in the world needs to know about these oils because of how powerful they are. And I appreciate your time, and now I'm ready to take any questions, and we will have the subsequent one will definitely go much more into the science. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Circulatory issue? Yes, peppermint is very much a member of vascular. It's a vasodilator, but cypress is very good for that. So are you talking about hypertension, high blood pressure, low blood pressure? And that's another thing that's unique about lemon. If you have too high blood pressure, it helps bring it down. If it's too low, it'll bring it up. And people are like, my drugs don't do that. And that's because they're drugs. They're one way, right? This is God's medicine. This is God's original medicine box. And all we've done is taking it off the tree, out of the root, off the flower, out of the seed, out of the cinnamon bark, and we've encapsulated. That's all we've done, period. So yes, cypress is... No, those 4 are for everybody, regardless of medical condition. So in your case, if you look in the book, you'll see cypress is one that'll be in there. You'll also see peppermint. Now, if it's high blood pressure, lemon for sure, marjoram, and you can mix the oil, so that's not a problem. You don't have to do one at a time. You can put them in a bottle, and you can have roller bottles and just roll them on. And put your hands together, and then it'll be absorbed that way. And so my mother contacted me out of the blue 7 years ago and said, Junior, I don't like taking these drugs. I'm like, why? I feel like a slug. I don't feel like getting out in the garden. I don't have much energy. So I told her, and she told me what her numbers were. I said, okay, keep documenting. She was a nurse in the Air Force when I was born. And so she tested, and I said, here, use lemon and marjoram. And then I sent her a whole bunch over that weekend. And she could see her numbers just had gone down drastically from hypertension just using those 2 oils. And then when I gave her all the oils that came out of the book, they went down drastically. So she still uses the oils. And what's nice is you don't have to use them as much. Sometimes with the pain or if the hypertension is so extreme, you may have to use it more initially. But your body knows what homeostasis is, where it's supposed to be, whether it's blood pressure or any of the other faculties of the body. So your body knows where it is, and it'll help you get there. And then I've had people who had severe back pain, or they had lots of pain. And when they use frankincense and deep blue, which is a pain soothing agent, they were able to no longer use it as much as they used to because they were like, well, my pain's gone away. That's because helichrysum goes in there, and helichrysum is a phenomenal, it's a miracle. It actually regenerates nerve tissue. So people who've had lingering pain, helichrysum is phenomenal for surgeries and bleeding. Pastor Brother Vince had a story, we call him the Spike Man now, in which he got something. Yes, so maybe he gets a chance, you can describe it later. So did I answer your question? Excellent, very good. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Blood clots, yes? Yes, and so the stuff that you're taking is, now you aren't talking about hemophilia, are you? Okay, so let's do this. Let's find out exactly what it is, because I'm not going to try to diagnose. I love it when I have somebody come to me and they said, I have a diagnosis. I said, you happen to have a second opinion, because how many times have you heard one doctor say one thing and he doesn't want you to get a second opinion because it's against his, you don't trust me enough to trust your whole life to me. So I always like to have, more than one. So I definitely like to pursue this later, okay? Warfarin, yes? Yes. Yes. So we'll get more information for both you, and we'll actually look it up in the book, okay? So I don't want to just go out to everybody who has warfarin and say, I'm going to take this, and I'm done. And then with people who do have issues, we always ask them, bring the science to your doctors, right? Take a picture of the book, that pertains to it, bring it to your doctor and tell them why and what you want to do. And many times when they see it, and they can see the science, because remember PubMed.gov, they look at that every day. That's the medical Google that doctors and nurses use daily. And so you don't have to be the expert, because they realize that you as a patient, you're not going to have all the information, just like any doctor knows. They don't know everything. So you can show that to them, and then they can say, okay, I believe it. Then they may say, okay, we're going to cut it down to 70% or 50%. And then you can wean you off. And as long as there's objective tests where they can see your before and after. So yes, doctors are more and more receptive, because they realize how much they don't know about the body. I mean, nutrition. It's hard to say, it's bad to say that, but yes, doctors typically only receive 1 credit hour of nutrition in college, whereas most cases their spouses have more nutritional information than the doctors do, because they're taught drugs, right? They're subsidized. The books and textbooks are paid by the drug companies, who are subsidized by the oil companies. So it's just one big circle of you know what. So if you know that the oils can benefit you, then you can learn more about it, and that's what the book's going to be able to help you with. You had a question first. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, sir. So usually with any kind of excessive medical issue, one thing you're saying is over 15 minutes. So do you feel like 1 or 2 drops, 15 minutes, or how long?
Yes. Now, so a great example is peppermint. They found out that the half-life of peppermint in a human body is typically 30 minutes. So if you are dealing with pain, or you're about to fall asleep at the wheel, yeah, naturally pull over. But if you have to get to where you're going, or you have to stay awake and watch because of security, yes, you can keep doing that. So in this case, if it's pain related, it's all based on pain. So you may want to increase it, but I'm talking about for infections. So if you know that there's a bad bug coming through here, you can take On Guard every 15 minutes. Like when I flew to Israel, I was on a plane with 400 people from around the world. I was taking it along with my son, because I didn't want to have 3 weeks, 4 weeks in Israel and be sick. That is terrible to be in the Holy Land and being puking. And so I decided that's what we do. And there were people around us that were saying, what are you doing? I'm like, I told them about the oils. Like, can I have some of that too? Because they were so motivated, because they didn't want to get sick either. So you can overdose on the oils, and you cannot. And you cannot become tolerant like you can with drugs. You know how it doesn't have the same effects, so your doctor keeps increasing it, and that's how you have the liver damage. Yes, ma'am? Sauna? Yes? Yeah. I haven't personally used it, but you can use them in the fact that normally you probably have eucalyptus in there, right? Yes. So how many times have you gone to health clubs and things like that and you smell eucalyptus? Yeah, it's also an antifungal as well, along with melaleuca. So you can use them, and they are very effective. And that's what's nice about the oils. Unlike drugs, you can use them in all capacities. You can put them in spray bottles and spray them in there to clean for lemon, things like that. But yes, it works very well in saunas. I don't have a dry sauna or a wet sauna, but I do use, my nose is a sauna, so I sweat, and that's my sauna, okay? Yes, one more, yes?
I'm only allowed to ask you a question about that.
Yeah, okay,
So I use a seat patch.
yes.
One of the things that they have, figured out again, is the seat patch.
Mm-hmm.
My thought was, when we
So are you looking for the clean it out, or are you looking to be able to keep you healthy?
one of the things with the seat patch, of course,
Yes.
water,
Uh-huh.
they actually tell you to rinse out your clothes.
Yes. I know, I understand. I wouldn't even do the beadlets. I would just use the oil itself. And so you could make a little glass bottle, something similar to this. There was one up here. But you could just spray it in there. And with the CPAP machine, that woman I told you about who lost, her brother lost his leg, she had a CPAP machine. And she'd wear it at night. And it was almost like, Luke, I am your father, right? That's how bad it was, right? And she was married, and she couldn't engage with her husband because it was that oppressive. So she started using Breathe. She hasn't used it in 14 years now, so she loves that Breathe. It's changed her life. And so, yes, so when you were talking about that, just like the neti pot is another one. There are 2 women last year who died because they had a staph infection and went in through their nose and killed them. So you can use these oils. It's not harsh like chlorine or bleaches, right? And it's natural. So you can use lemon, you can use On Guard as well. I'd probably use On Guard instead of lemon. Lemon, because it extracts toxins, it will actually take the chemicals out. And when you use the oils, so when you use lemon and other oils, don't use them in glass or in metal when you're drinking them. Because if you put them in the plastic cup or this, it will take the poisons out of here and put it in the water, and then you just consumed them. So it's better that you take a drop and then flush it down with water than to now take the toxins out of something, especially styrofoam. We're going to do this in a subsequent class. We'll bring some styrofoam up, put a drop of grapefruit on there, and you'll see in less than 20 minutes, I'll put a drop on me, a drop on that, and you'll see a hole in it, because grapefruit is phenomenal in removing toxins. And that's the way the body protects itself, is it encapsulates toxins, whether it is preservatives from food, from cigarettes, or whatever, in fat molecules. And that's what happens, and that's how you have people who have a very toxic load because of what they're exposed to. And that's what the oils can do, is they can eliminate that. Yes, sir. Yes. Yes, helichrysum is phenomenal in that capacity. Remember I told you it was a nerve generator? Or a nerve regenerator or rejuvenator. So we have an oil called Immortel. And Immortel has frankincense and rose and helichrysum in there. And women will put it on to get rid of, what do those things? Crow's feet? Yes. I always call them spider webs, but yes. And I started getting furrows after one of our conventions. And I was like, really? Yes, but what the ladies put it on their temples and their entire face. And what happens? They said that I noticed my vision, the people who are marginal, their vision improves because it goes through the skin, it hits the optic nerve and starts to improve that. So these ladies are saying, I don't have to wear my bifocals anymore. So there are benefits. Remember I told there are benefits. Yeah, there are secondary benefits from using oils that may not be specifically about, indigestion. You also get other benefits. Yes, ma'am. Yes, inflammation, frankincense. Matter of fact, here, we'll let you do this. Look in here. I'm going to let you do it, and then you can just say it loud, okay? And look in there under the... Okay, thanks. But I'm going to let her say which ones she would like to use. Yes. First aid kit. Those 10 oils that were in there were those 10 oils that were in that kit. So the most important ones I would say would be On Guard, Digest Zen, frankincense, lavender, peppermint, and helichrysum. I would say those would be the most important ones. And, there's one that, there's On Guard Plus, and that's for once you've got sick and you're throwing up and you have diarrhea and you're like, I need something, because the next stop is going to be a hospital. What that has is all the oils that are in On Guard, but they also have 3 others. So there's Melissa, oregano, and I don't use On Guard Plus so much because I don't get sick. So this is more of a, give me one second, black pepper, that's what it is. Oregano, Melissa, and black pepper. And so, but when I know I'm going to be around a lot of sick people, I'll throw one in advance because I don't want to get, I haven't been sick in over 8 years, and I haven't been to a doctor for any kind of drug reasons for over 20 years because my attitude is, I'm going to keep my temple as holy as possible, period. So, okay, we got one more question. Oh, diffuse them. Yeah, and see, this is different. You don't want to burn oils because now you've changed the molecular aspects and the medicinal benefits. So you remember years ago you'd see people would put those like clay pots over light bulbs? Yeah, they're cooking a scented oil just for smell. The stuff, doTERRA is medicinal. So it'll go up, you're breathing it, it goes into your bloodstream, it'll help your mood enhancement, and it'll also help you with infections. So I wouldn't burn it. I would, even if you don't have a diffuser, I'm not saying go spend money on diffusers, save the money for the oils. If you have to, touch your nose. That becomes a diffuser. That's free. You've got it everywhere. Plus it goes inside your body, and so you're getting the health benefits that way too, okay? So what are the oils? Yes.
Frankincense, it says, and then it tells you different ways that it can be applied.
That's right.
And topical would be the method that I would use, and I would rub it on. Then it tells you how much to put on your area that's been affected here, and it says dilute is recommended and apply 1 to 2 drops on location and on the back of neck. Oh, but I don't probably need to put it on the back of the neck. My hand was swollen, and then but it said you could, and by the base of the skull, add 3 to 4 drops to 1 tablespoon fractionated coconut oil and massage on location. So I need some of that frankincense.
And
So in this case, you just put a drop on, hold it on your finger for like 30 seconds. It'll get inside your blood, and you maybe do it once an hour, and you'll see the swelling go down.
And Brother Leon, you the oil, the fractionated coconut oil. Why?
Yes. So if you're dealing with a localized, like a rash or an infection, you can put the coconut oil on, and it'll keep it at the surface if you're dealing with it in that regard. If you just want it to get in your body and be a whole systemic benefit, then don't worry about the fractionated coconut oil. Or if you have a large rash on the back, or you have you've been exposed to poison ivy, that's when you'd put on something like that. But in most cases, I just take it neat, and there are certain oils that you don't, like lemongrass, oregano. Those are very hot oils. They don't burn. They're just very, very powerful. Oregano will kill parasites. So you take a couple drops, and depending on how bad the parasites are, you'll see them floating in the toilet. That's how bad. It does not like oregano at all. Yes, if it's too strong, that's another reason why you'd put it, because many people, over 85% of Americans have Candida albicans, and that's one thing that Luke had brought up here earlier. Candida is when you take antibiotics and the squatters that come into your body once you've eliminated all the probiotics. See what happens to antibiotics? What is anti? Against biotics, life. So it kills everything in your gut, the good and the bad. So how many of you have had doctors tell you, I'm going to give you an antibiotic and you must take a... You went through that? Tell me about it. Yes? Huh? Yes, ma'am. Yes. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to stop now. I appreciate it, ma'am. And we have some. If you put your name on the list, we will definitely submit and send you some information shortly. It won't be probably in the next 3 or 4 days, but we will definitely drip on you if you have questions. But yes, the oils can be used in so many different capacities, and it doesn't matter if it's for pets, for children, or whomever. You can use them. So the next class we will go more in depth, and then write down any questions you have, so we can address them. Okay? Thank you very much.
got him looking.